So about world building, I'll show you the task that I've got for you first, and there should be ample time today to do it, and also to really get going with your main task at the same time, which I think is fairly important at this time of the year, or this time of the course. So share sound too, and there we go. And it's not yet visible, so I'll make it. Here, turn the editing on. And later on today, I will be interested also in what you have put there, like in your main task already. And also we'll take a look at the story tasks later today, but let's get into world building, because I know some of you might want to get into the task right away. So there, it's called Your Main Task Character's Way to Work or Study. And I'll make it visible. And it should be that. I know this didn't just come into my mind while I was coming here to Mediapolis by bus. But on that note, we do spend a lot of time traveling from one place to another, and the world is around us, of course, and we are in the world. And that's a good bottom-up way to also think about your story world. I mean, there are like two main ways of creating a story world or building a story world. One is called like from top down, where you first think about big things. You think about if it's a planet, or if it's a flat world, or what kind of geography does it have, and what are the global politics, or what kind of races live there in your world. Are there like if it's this basic Tolkien like world with elves and humans and whatever. Anyway, so that's the top-down way is one way. Then there's the bottom-up way, which is what this task is actually about. I find the bottom-up way easier. It's where you create first the details around your character, and then you go deeper into the world from there. So let's say you're working on a story that's set in the 1600s, the 17th century, in other words, then you don't need to find out everything what was happening in the world in the 17th century on all the continents, because that would be too much. You just first concentrate on that one city, or maybe if it's a fantasy city with 17th century features, then you take maybe a couple of real cities and do some research on them. So you start from the details and go to the upper levels from there. So this is the idea here, is to think about your protagonist in your main task. Like I'm assuming that you have one main character, or if it's an ensemble thing, then they might be traveling together, all of them, because why not? So show the journey to the place where they are working, or if they are studying somewhere. Like what can they see there? What vehicles do they use in order to come here? Like many of us use the bus to come to Mediapolis, And we have shared a couple of stories about bus drivers and buses during the winter and spring. And again, when you go to Helsinki and go by bus there, then you notice a difference. Well, I've noticed one. I think all the Helsinki bus drivers are like maniacs. They drive like they are crazy. Maybe they have tighter schedules, but also they all seem to be like really angry at all times. So maybe in order to get a job in Helsinki as a bus driver, you need to be an angry maniac. So, so what kind of people are you meeting on your way, or this character is meeting? So for that, you need to know a little bit already about the character, who they are, like what is their main goal in life, maybe? What is their main personality trait, or what is their main attitude towards the world? So every place is different. So think about what kind of places they have to go through in order to get where they work or where they study. Like what are the roads like? In Tampere, the roads are very different in different times of the year. For instance, like 3 weeks ago, the roads were really dusty and there were these visible clouds of dust going around. Now they have been swept away. And once we've got vegetation, then that will absorb some of the road dust, luckily. So it will be easier to breathe. So is it easy for your main character to breathe in the world? That could be an important thing. Are they asthmatic, maybe? Do they need to have an inhaler with them at all times, or some sort of face mask? I'm all the time reminded by Miyazaki movies right now, and also comics. You might know the Nausicaa of Valley of the Wind. I mean, that's a world where sometimes it's not easy to breathe because the air has been polluted. There are exceptions like this Valley of the Wind, where our main character comes from. But here, for instance, she's in this fungal forest where human beings have to have these masks on in order to breathe. And if you have read the comic, which I do recommend because it's it's a more interesting story than the film, and it goes deeper into the world, then you'll see that there is a lot of talk about the masks, and there are different kinds of masks. And Nausicaa, she is like this sort of person who will give her own mask to somebody who's choking, although it means that she will choke herself. So the way she thinks about the air is important in this story. And of course, she's a flying person who flies, who has this flying vehicle. So she's a person of the air. So logically, it's important that she thinks a lot about air and how to get on with the air and with the world. And in this case, in Nausicaa's world, the world itself is really, it's not a very nice place for human beings. It's really not very easy to live for them there or to survive, which is giving way to war. I mean, people are fighting for the few places that are still livable, and partly they are also destroying those places. So the environment, the world, is an important part of the story here, and it's also affecting the characters in profound ways. And the characters are also changing their world in profound ways, at least Nausicaa is. Morning. Yeah, we are just talking about Nausicaa.
Nice. I had some problems with allergies, so.
Oh, we were just talking about how people react to air, for instance, and
Not well.
so that is could be part of the story world, like how your character, what is your character's attitude to the air around them? Like if the air is really dusty, or if it has lots of pollen, or like with Nausicaa, the air is filled with fungal spores that are toxic to human beings, and they need these masks. So that was kind of the point of this. Anyway, yeah, I was saying about the bus drivers earlier. So think about if your character is, which kind of vehicles are they using? Like they might be taking a bike or a motorbike, and that motorbike might be really important to them, or if they have a car or some sort of flying vehicle. So if it's a public transportation, then is that thing, if it's a train, for instance, is it working well, or is it like falling apart, for instance? Or maybe they have a car that they love that is falling apart, and then they love also taking care of it. So, or it's a really nice new car, or maybe a small plane. Again, with Nausicaa, she has this flying thing. Yeah, I think it's called a mehve or something. So she's attached to it, and she's really good at flying it. And although it's a pretty old comic and pretty old film, but the design of this vehicle still looks fairly like futuristic. It hasn't gotten old, I think. Okay, yeah. So that's about the vehicles. Also think about the roads. And Forest Tampere has a really peculiar geography. We have those big lakes, and then we have big hills or ridges. And do you know why we have those ridges here? Why we have lots of ridges, these big hills here? How did they form? Who knows? Hmm? Nope. Well, almost like water in some form, yes. In which form? No. Rain doesn't make hills, but what does? What makes ridges? It's ice. The ice age. There was like 2 kilometers of ice over us here, and that was because like 2 kilometers of ice, that's a lot. So when that kind of ice mass goes around, it takes with it lots of stones, and the ice age it didn't recede like at once, but it stayed at one point for maybe 1,000 years, and then it got on again. So that's how the ridges were formed, and that's why when you go to any of the ridge, like Bunikki, or there's one right here by the lake, the ridges have these round stones. Let's see, Pulderi. Kivi. These kinds of stones, maybe you have seen them lying around here and there. That's Pulderi. So like stones big as a baby's head, and they are round. So they are also the results of the the Ice Age. The Ice Age has made them so round. And the ridges are basically made of that, and a bit of well, sand as well. So let's see, Soraharju. So sand is being taken from these ridges, and in big ways. Maybe you have seen these. There are what's this sorakuoppa called in English? Let's see. Gravel pit. Yes. Well, in the Tampere or Pirkanmaa region, there are lots of gravel pits like this. You can go to Kangasala, or you can go a couple of kilometers from here to Lamminpää or Ylöjärvi. You will find the gravel pits. They are like a couple of 100 meters wide, and people are so taking like gravel and stones from there in really big style for the building industry and making roads. So why I'm talking about this is how people use the world, and that's part of your world. How a civilization is using its surroundings and also changing its surroundings, because these, when you go to these places, they look like moon craters. And I think in Kangasala, there's a place where they have made an artwork into one of these gravel pits. Sorakuoppa taideteos. Let's see. There, in Hämeenkyrö, at least there's one. So they are, oh, and there's Nancy Holt's work. Yeah, so in some of these places, they are trying to make them look nicer. Also in the Tampere region, there used to be a tradition of young people going to these gravel pits in the like weekends and to drink. So it's a sort of cultural thing, like gravel pit drinking. So once you have gravel pits and they are not used anymore, then people will come and find ways to use them. Juha Suompää, who's one of the lecturers at the Fine Art, and he's a nature photographer, he said that wolf packs actually love these gravel pits. And it's a nice way to find wolves to photograph. So I would say don't go to a very lonely gravel pit in the night. There might be wolves.
Unless you want to find.
And unless you want to find wolves and meet them in close up. They might be not also be really like eager to meet you, maybe too eager. But many photographers have gone to these gravel pits and taken photos of them. So they are interesting. And it's an interesting part of the world. Maybe we should take more tourists there in Finland. Usually, tourist departments don't want to show these. But yeah, there's also been concerts in gravel pits. So think about if you have a world, then you might get like inspiration from a thing like this, like what can be done in a big place that's empty. Okay. So what is the route like? So be interested if there are big hills, or maybe there are bodies of water to cross. Maybe they have to. I mean, there are lots of mostly Japanese movies where the movie starts with the main character getting to where they live or getting to where they work or study. So, and then there's a nice, that's a nice way to show the word at the same time. And maybe some of the things that you show in the world will later be important for the story. Like, again, in a Ghibli movie, Whisper of the Heart. Do you remember the opening sequence there? I'm somehow thinking that everybody has seen all the Ghibli movies for like 6 times. Let's see if we can find something on YouTube. Whisper of the Heart beginning. Okay, here we have
Ganesflora Plus ravintolisä intiimialueen hyvinvoinnin tueksi. 4 miljardia.
right.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shannon.
Okay, this is more like a trailer or something. But anyway, I think this was part of the opening sequence where we show the main character. I think she was actually going to the library, which was also important in the story. It was also her dad's place of work, I think. And she was a library fan. And she met her beloved through library books. Anyway, also from this short sequence, you saw how important the world around her is. So yes, it's Tokyo, but it's a certain way of showing Tokyo, some like certain parts of it. So it's how she sees Tokyo mostly. Okay. So the like senses are important. So seeing, of course, yeah, it's important, but also what can be heard in that world of yours. What does it smell like? What does it feel like to the touch? We'll do some of that in a couple of weeks when we talk about the hero's journey and go to around the lake. Then I would wish that as many people as possible will come here to Mediapolis. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense. Anyway, so what kind of people can you see on your way on their way? Are there animals around? I mean, in cities you can sometimes see big flocks of birds, for instance. What kinds of birds are they? Is there vegetation? Like maybe there's a big forest where you have to go through, or where the character has to go through, or maybe there are just some half dead trees lying here and there. Maybe it's a sort of post-apocalyptic world, like the Nausicaa world is, more or less, where instead of trees you have like these big fungi growing. And if there are like crowds of people, well, there are different kinds of crowds, of course. So crowds can be busy people, or you can have like lots of happy people, or maybe everybody's sad or angry for some reason. Maybe you want to make a point that everybody's hungry, so everybody's really thin, and their clothes are bad, and so on. Or everybody's really fat and big, and maybe carrying ice creams or buns with them. And maybe maybe your character doesn't really fit in, and they are the only thin person in a world filled with fat people, or the other way around. Or they are the only happy person in a world of angry and sad people. Or the other way around. Everybody else seems to be really happy, and they don't understand why your main character is so angry at all times. Okay, so what's the weather like? Like in Finland, that is like always a thing to talk about, like because the weather is always different. And what season is it? So in a couple of years ago, I wrote a book called Ambrosia, which was a like science fiction novel. There we go. Which was half historical or pseudo historical. There were aliens and conspiracies and stuff like that, and people who lived for several thousand years, but were not gods. Anyway, what did I want to say about this? Yes, about the weather. So I had this main character living in like this day and age. She was, what was she? She was 29 or 30, I think. And she had this peculiarity that the world seemed to hate her, so weather-wise at least. So every time she went somewhere, there was like rain coming like horizontally on her face, or sometimes snow or sleet. Or I put her once on a tropical beach where everything should have been nice, and of course she hurt her foot in some shard of plastic that was lying on the beach. So wherever she went in the world, it was always a little bit hostile towards her. And even when she met some aliens or an alien, and had to have the alien in her hotel room. So what does the alien do? It eats all her food and then leaves like a big pile of shit in the middle of the room, because they were not like house trained. And then she has to deal with it. Okay, so the physical details are sometimes important, and also they make your world more real. Like, okay, you have aliens, but if your aliens are also shitting and it's like really bad smelling, and you need to get rid of that, so that will give it a bit more physicality into it. Or if your if your character is constantly plagued by rain on their face, that's also giving more physicality to it. And yeah, research. I already mentioned research, that it's important to do, like on a real world, like this world where you are living. So make notes. So don't just go around everywhere with your headphones, but also listen to things, smell things, touch things. Or if you want to research some era of history, that's also possible. There's lots of stuff online. There's lots of books in the libraries. Yeah, I'm, for instance, planning a book that is a novel that is set in the 18th century Sweden. So I'm going to go for a week to Stockholm in June to do some research on how court life was in the 18th century, how people ate, what kind of clothes they wore, what kind of clothes normal people wore who were not nobles, what kind of illnesses did they have, and so on. So it's a research trip, and I've done several of them. But if you can't afford to go to where you're researching, or if it doesn't exist anymore, then, or if it exists but you can't go there, so Google is available. Let's go to Google Maps and tell me a city where you want to put your story world into, or maybe you want to do research on that city in order to create your story world. Show me a city. Anyone?
Istanbul.
Istanbul. Okay, let's take
Can
Istanbul.
you do something for the speakers?
Is it too loud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah, I put them on
Sorry.
the loudest earlier.
It's not good.
Okay, now it should be better. Here we have Istanbul. So of course in Wikipedia we will find a lot of information about Istanbul, about the its history and so on. I think Istanbul, largest city in Turkey. History, geography and environment, cityscape, government and politics, demographics. I think there's a whole Wikipedia. There's a whole Wikipedia article just on the names of Istanbul. Well, that's not a surprise, knowing the history of that. I've been to Istanbul myself a couple of times with Turkish people, so they told me a lot. And there's, of course, an article about history of Istanbul and an article about the timeline of Istanbul history. And let's go back to Google Maps. So Melih, tell us a specific place in Istanbul that you'd like to research.
Topkapi Palace.
Topkapi Palace. Okay, let's take it from here. Topkapi Saray, yes?
Yes.
This one. There we go. And let's see what Google Street View has to give us. Okay. You can't go walking freely here, but there are these views, nevertheless, of the Topkapi Palace. Here we go. And I'm pretty sure we can find some 3D models of Topkapi Palace from the days when it was built and so on online. I did so with some ancient places in Egypt when I was writing my Egyptian novel. So, and if you just want to go around here in the area, then you can do that as well. So sometimes for my books, I take things directly from Google Street View. So if I, for instance, see these people guarding the palace. I would probably describe their gear in the book or something, and maybe their attitude. Like he has an attitude of, if I ever saw one, like he's having his other foot here. And the way he's having the gun so in a relaxed way, and it's pointing to his other foot, by the way. So he's maybe not thinking that he could shoot himself in the foot.
He's too professional to do it.
He's too professional to do that, yeah. So yeah, probably if I had that kind of gun, I would also take that kind of attitude. Like, hey, I'm the professional here. Fear me. Okay. So I would go around, see the streets, see what people look like, what kind of things they wear, and so on. And of course, I can't hear things or see them, but sometimes, for instance, I did some research on Amsterdam a couple of years ago for a thriller novel. And I went to, let's go to Amsterdam from Topkapi. So I went to just walk around the canals or in Google Street View. And then I found a bar, and I made my main character in the book also go into that bar, because I happened to find the website of that bar, and it had a video of a band playing there. So of course I put that band playing in my book as well. And she met somebody there, of course, and they went into her hotel room. And the basic thing was there that they both had baggage, and the sex was awful. She had just committed a murder in the previous week, so she had a lot of things in her mind. So yeah, think about how the environment will affect your character and what do they want to do. And if you find things in the real world to take inspiration from, then do it. And that is also part of your task. So here it says, do some research and compile it into a research and inspiration mood board with both images and words. So let's get, we are getting closer to what you're going to do with this task. So, okay, style of architecture that, well, I've actually studied architecture for 2 years in a university. So that's why sometimes I tend to describe the buildings in my books better than the people, but yeah, that's me. And if you happen to be an engineer, then you might be really interested in the technology, but I do recommend you to be interested in it anyway. At least think about if everything is really shiny around you, like architecture and technology wise, is everything working just like it should, or is everything half in ruins or rusty, just about working? Or if there's been a recent catastrophe, like an earthquake, it might be still seen, or a war. People might be rebuilding the city, or they might not. They might have just left it as it is. Nobody has the energy anymore to do any repairs. Or maybe your character is the only engineer that can make things to work again, and that's the story. Or the only doctor that's available. So make them a little bit special in that world. But coming to that point, think about if your protagonist fits into the world. They could fit in perfectly already, but then some cracks might start showing that the world and they are not quite as harmonic as they used to be. or maybe they are a loner or a rebel from the beginning. I don't remember what I've thought about that. How can either be seen? Yeah. How can you make that visible? Yeah. So what's the personality of the world itself? Or what's the attitude of the world towards people? Like in the Nausicaa case, the world was really hostile towards people in general. And it was out there to kill people, actually. Yeah, I get the feeling sometimes going out in the world. Like I was once sitting in a train, minding my own business, coming from Helsinki. And then it was dark and in the middle of the winter. And suddenly there was like this bang on the train window, like kaboom. And then I saw like the window had was partly shattered, or actually it was all shattered, but it had not fallen apart yet. So that in the middle, like kind of was this mark of a like stone that had come towards the train. So maybe there sometimes kids put stones on the rails. So maybe it was a stone like that. And also I saw that from the direction that the stone had been coming right towards my chest. Once I was walking in Hämeenkatu, again, minding my own business. And then suddenly, like, I heard a crash just behind me. And then, these big signs of the stores, like H&M and so on. So one of those signs had just fallen behind me, like 2 meters after I had walked past it. So that's what I mean about the attitude of the world towards you. What is it? So sometimes but maybe I'm not a exception. Maybe the world is out to kill us all, and it does in the end, of course. Okay, so do research, and then this is supposed to be a team task, or if you're doing the main task on your own, then yeah, good luck to doing this on your own. But yeah, it's an interesting task anyway. So use your writing skills and your drawing and 3D modeling skills. And if you get in a real big hurry, then you can use generative AI for the pictures if you feel you need it. If not, then don't use it. But yeah, I would say don't use generative AI to create text. So the text should come from you, but there doesn't have to be a lot. Also, I'm not saying how refined the task has to be. Like it can be just your quick sketches scanned into Canvas slides, and quick notes that you make. So maps, often in fantasy worlds, for instance, or historical worlds, you show a map of things. So if you feel it's necessary to make a map, but it's not totally necessary for the task. But if it makes you feel good, then do it. And then it would be nice to show the character and the surroundings in at least one image. So what I want to see in the afternoon is Canvas slides or a horizontal PDF file in this forum, and then go and comment other people as well. Any questions? When do we meet again is probably the next question. We have time today until 3 o'clock. So how about 1:30? Because I want to see also other things that you have done. There are other tasks. So Let's have like a general task check at 1:30. Anybody against that? You would have 3.5 hours time. And if you don't happen to have much on your main task yet, here's a good time to do that too. Okay, I'll stop sharing, and now I'd like to know how the Mapper Market went.
Went fine. We had one teacher visit us.
Ooh, wow.
That's more than last time.
Okay, what about the students? I mean, were there lots of students buying your stuff?
Oh yeah, the first day we had a huge turnout because the first day was more like metallized it came.
Mhm.
On the second day, it was more so just general traffic that would come from the campus. But more people, there was more roughly on the first day because people want to see the stuff and get things before they go, for example, depending on how much people have stock.
Mhm.
But it was really nice. We had some staff from Boomi come and talk to us and ask what's going on and try to collaborate with like the organizers for future things. And we had a lot more people who were from outside of Thump that came. And I know that we had some, like, for example, Ficos, Thump intercultural art. They also were interested in our thing and they had some advertising for us. And yeah,